My name is Brittany Souther. I'm 28 years old, and 15 years ago, my own parents threw me out of the house when I was just 13. Last week, they walked into my uncle's will reading with confident smiles, a private attorney, and absolute certainty they were about to leave with millions. But when the lawyer opened that envelope, everything changed. And when she reached clause 7, my mother stood up so fast, her chair nearly fell over. Her face went pale. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. Because in that moment, she realized something that would destroy everything she came for. Before I tell you what happened, I want to ask you something. If someone who abandoned you suddenly came back for money, what would you do? Would you forgive them, or walk away? And where are you watching from right now? Drop your city and time in the comments. I read them all. Now let me take you back. Because this didn't start at that will reading. It started the night I lost everything. I grew up in a small house in Southeast Portland. Not poor. Not rich. Just enough to get by. But love in our house? That was never equal. My older sister, Vanessa, she was everything my mother wanted. Blonde hair, blue eyes, loud laugh, confident, perfect. People would always say, she looks exactly like you, and my mom would smile like she had won something. Me? I looked like my grandmother. Quiet. Brown hair. Reserved. Invisible. My mother never said anything bad about me. She just never said anything at all. And when you're a kid, silence hurts more than insults. You start wondering, why am I not enough? That question followed me everywhere. Birthdays made it obvious. Vanessa's 15th birthday? A big party. 15 guests. 3-layer cake. Music. Laughter. My 13th birthday, just 3 months later, a discounted cake from the grocery store where my mom worked. It didn't even have my name on it. Just, happy birthday. Generic, like me. That was the moment something inside me shifted. I realized I wasn't the favorite. I was the extra. The one they could live without. Then came the summer that changed everything. I applied to a STEM program at Oregon State University. Didn't tell anyone. Didn't want to get my hopes crushed again. Out of 2,000 students, 50 were selected. I was one of them. Full scholarship. Everything covered. I felt important. Like I mattered. Then my sister found out about an acting camp in California. 3 weeks. $3,800. No scholarship. That night at dinner, my mother made her decision. Elena, you'll decline your program. Just like that. No discussion, no hesitation. We can't afford both. And Vanessa needs it more. Something inside me snapped. For the first time in my life, I said no. The room went silent. My mother looked at me like I had just betrayed her. If you can't sacrifice for this family, she said slowly, then you're not part of this family. I thought she was angry. I didn't realize she meant it. 3 days later, I came home from the library, and everything I owned was sitting on the porch, in 2 black garbage bags. My mother stood in the doorway, calm, cold. I called your uncle, she said. He's coming to pick you up. From now on, you're his responsibility. I stood there, trying to understand how my life had just ended. Behind her, my father stood in the hallway. He didn't look at me, didn't say a word. I looked up at my sister's window. She was watching. When our eyes met, she stepped back and disappeared. I sat on that porch for 4 hours. In the dark. Alone. Waiting. Headlights pulled into the driveway. My uncle stepped out of his car, walked up to me, and hugged me tighter than anyone ever had. You're safe now, he said. That was the first time in my life I believed it. But what I didn't know was that while I was sitting outside, my parents were inside, signing papers. Legal papers. Giving me away. I didn't find out about that until 15 years later, at the will reading. Life with my uncle was different. For the first time, I had my own room, my own space, my own voice. But more importantly, I had someone who believed in me. He didn't treat me like I was broken. He treated me like I was capable, and that changed everything. I worked harder than I ever had, graduated top of my class, got into university, earned my CPA, joined his real estate company, and by 26, I was running operations on properties worth over $20 million. But none of that mattered as much as one thing. He called me his daughter. Not because he had to, because he chose to. In 15 years, My biological family contacted me only 3 times, and none of those times were about me. They wanted money, invitations, connections. Not once did they ask, "Are you okay?" So I moved on, built my own life, without them. Until the day my uncle passed away. And suddenly, they came back. The will reading was on March 14th, Seattle, 47th floor. Rain hitting the windows. I arrived early, but they didn't. They made an entrance. My mother walked in like she owned the room. Black dress, pearls, confidence. Like she was already rich. Behind her, my sister and their attorney. They weren't there to mourn, they were there to collect. Before the reading even started, my mother began talking loudly. Hinting. Blaming. Acting like she had been wronged. But I stayed silent because I knew something they didn't. Then the lawyer began reading. Assets, properties, millions. I saw their eyes light up. Then came the part about my father. No inheritance, because of a loan he never repaid. His face dropped. Then came the moment. Everything changed. The lawyer pulled out a document. On July 15, 2010, Richard and Sandra Carter voluntarily relinquished parental rights. My mother stood up. That's irrelevant. But it wasn't, because that paper meant one thing. Legally, they were no longer my parents. And they had no claim to anything. The room went silent. But the biggest twist was still coming. Then the lawyer said, Article 7, and started reading. I leave my entire estate to my adopted daughter. Adopted. My mother froze. Elena Carter. That was the moment everything broke. Because my uncle didn't just raise me. He made it official. Years ago. Without telling me, without needing to, because to him, I was already his daughter. My mother tried to argue, tried to manipulate, even tried to call me sweetheart. After 15 years, I looked her in the eyes and said the truth she couldn't escape. You stopped being my family the day you gave me away. No shouting, no anger, just truth. And sometimes, that's the most powerful thing you can say. Before we go further, what do you think my mother did next? Did she apologize? Or try one last time to take everything? Comment your guess below. Because what happened next, even I didn't expect. She begged, not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, desperately, for a second chance. But here's something people don't understand. Forgiveness doesn't mean access. And closure doesn't mean going back. So I made my choice, and I walked away. In the end, I inherited everything. The business, the properties, the legacy. But more than that, I inherited something far more valuable. The ability to choose my own life. I started a scholarship for kids like me. Kids who feel invisible. Who think they don't matter. Because someone told them they didn't. And every time I see one of them succeed, I remember something my uncle once told me. You don't need their approval to know your worth. 1 year later, I stood outside his first building. There was a plaque with his name on it. I touched it, and for the first time, I didn't feel pain. I felt peace. Now I want to ask you something. Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved, to protect yourself? And if they came back today, would you let them in? Because at the end of the day, family isn't about blood. It's about who stays, who chooses you. Even when they don't have to. If this story stayed with you, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Because someone out there right now is sitting on their own porch moment, thinking they don't matter, and maybe this story can remind them they do.